doing well. My name is Mohammad Daniel Javed, and I'm from the class of 26 AQ, and I welcome you all on behalf of IMIG. Residency itself is certainly one of the significant career milestones that all of us aspire for. And since we have a lot of people who've matched, so I would wholeheartedly like to congratulate you all, as well as people who are aspiring to apply. I would wish you all the best. Now that you've applied, however, residency comes with its own set of challenges, with the biggest one being to move to a different country. And it is for this very reason that we've organized this session. We have on board today our two esteemed guests in Dr. Maham Zahid and Dr. Fatma Sajjad, who are both here. I would like to wholeheartedly thank Dr. Maham as well as Dr. Fatma for taking the time out of their busy schedules to join us, as well as showing the kind of interest that they have shown and helping us plan what would, inshallah, be a very good and informative session. Dr. Maham and Dr. Fatma, if I could have you both briefly introduce yourself, and then we could move towards the questioning and talking about the move, transition, basically.
Hi everyone. My name is Fatima. I'm an AQ grad from the class of 2019. I started my residency at the Washington University in St. Louis in 2022. So I'm a PGY2 now. Will be a PGY3 post July, inshallah.
All right. Dr. Maham, if you
Right.
could share,
Hi,
please.
I'm Maham Zahid. I'm also from Karachi. Um, I also started not residency 2 years ago, so I'm in PGY2 at Kern Medical in California, and I'll be getting done in 2-3 months, inshallah, to be a PGY3 as well.
Thank you again to both of you for joining us. So getting married in itself is like a very big thing, achievement, but the change itself is also very huge. So what was the actual checklist which you made a month ago and a few days before moving in to the US?
So there were quite a few things that we kept in mind before leaving. For me, some of the important things before leaving were like getting your documents in place. For example, make sure wherever you're going, you find out what kind of like requirements they have, because there are some programs which have like licensing stuff going on now. Like you have to make sure you have the license before you practice, like, or at least apply for it. So there will be quite a few documents that you're going to be needing. I would say if you could reach out to your programs, find out if they haven't informed you, then most likely they don't have a licensing thing going on. But if they need one, then you should reach out and find out details, like, what documents you need, because some of those documents you might have to get from your medical schools, from your colleges or your schools, sometimes like as old as those as well. So I would recommend that being one thing, especially because, sometimes getting documentation out can take a while, like getting it attested, getting your dean to sign it, and all of those things, so that you have those things in line. Otherwise, it's too difficult once you've already left than trying to get it done from a different country. There were some people who did face some issues after they got some of their documents were back home. So at least try to take all of your original documents with you. That would definitely be one thing. Second thing, important thing before starting, I would say, is make sure like you have all of your vaccination records. A lot of times in Pakistan, a lot of people are exposed to TB. So I don't know many people, but I know some people whose like skin test comes positive for TB, and then they have to get their X-rays, and then they need a letter from their pulmonologist and all of those things as well. So try to reach out to your programs and see if they have any specific health requirements, because they always usually you have a healthcare checkup before you start residency here. So they will be asking you for your vaccination records as well. If you can check what vaccines you are due for, just get those. If you don't have your records, I would recommend getting your titers with you. So if you have those things beforehand, it really makes the process of transitioning smoother. rather than, you're already settling in a new place and then you have to figure everything out from a different country. So, and then in Pakistan, everything's much more like easy to do as well. Like going to a doctor, getting a blood test, like, you can do everything on your own time. Here, you're gonna have to wait for like days and everything to get an appointment, and they're gonna order your tests and everything, like, is much more time consuming. And that's the last thing you want a few days before starting residency. That would be the second big thing. Third big thing would be definitely seeing what your driving situation would be when you get here. So if you can try to get an international driver's license at least. So in the beginning, when you come here, if you have that, you can at least get your way around, because not all places would be like, most of the places in America at least don't have a good transport system. You do need to have a car here in most of the country, like most of the cities, and most of the states. You do need to have a car. And last thing you want to do here is try to get a license, especially like, if there's someone who has some visa issues going on. And then of course, like, it's a whole different process here. So definitely would recommend working on the driving situation. Second thing, also under driving, when you come here, a lot of times when you are going to rent a car or something, they do ask for like a credit card. If you have one in Pakistan, even if you carry that, usually that helps. So at quite a few places when I landed here in LA, when we were trying to rent a car in the beginning, they do ask for a credit card, and like, you're starting to freak out that, oh, I don't even have a bank account here. How am I going to do this? So if you have your credit card from Pakistan, that also does work most places. It's just for like depositing, like, so it should be good. So one thing to just keep in mind there for the driver's license thing. Um, then what else I would say? I know a lot of us think that, okay, we're starting residency, we should probably study. But honestly speaking, I didn't study anything 1 to 2 months before starting residency. I would say just enjoy that time as much as you can, because you're going to be extremely busy when you come here, especially like adjusting, and then trying to like study, getting through intern year. If anything, like, I would say, even me and Fatna were talking yesterday, and we were discussing how we think that maybe EKGs should be one thing that you should focus on, because you're going to see a lot, like for every patient you're going to be going through their EKGs. Like when you're going to admit a patient, you're going to look at their EKG. So if you know like the good basics of your EKGs, that's definitely gonna help. But rest of the things, whenever you see a patient, you have good time to just read up on that patient and on that topic to see how you're gonna manage further. And then of course you have so many people around you to guide you. So that would definitely like be helpful. If you really want to study more, then of course you can look into some IM books. We can send you guys some resources at the end as well. I can share them with Daniel, and then he can share it with you guys. But these are a few things that I would definitely recommend. And of course, have lots of fun before leaving. Shop, get all of your stuff that you want get here, like especially food stuff. um you nowadays you find mostly everything, but try to, like, if you have some favorites, some staples you can't live without, just get a stack of them. And of course, shopping for your personal needs that are important to you, that you feel like you won't be able to find here easily. So that would definitely be the other thing. And then apart from that, I would definitely say visa status, in which Dr. Fatma can guide you guys a bit more. So I don't have much experience in that aspect, but I'm gonna hand it over to her.
Thank you, Maham, for going over everything. I will just add a couple of things. Maham covered everything. As far as the taking stuff with you is concerned, one thing in particular that most people don't know, which one of my friends thankfully told me about, is that good bed sheets here are very expensive. So if you want like cotton bed sheets, those are like $100, $150. And wahan pe Pakistan, you'll find really, really nice, like, bed sheets, pillowcases, etc. that are good material and not super expensive. So make sure you take some of that with you, at least 2 pairs. Most people end up getting a queen size bed, but andazan, just figure out, what size you'll need. Take that with you. The other thing is, if you're planning on cooking, taking basic like masale and stuff with you is actually a good idea. Yahan pe, the only ones you'll find are Shan or National, things like that, like the boxed ones, not the organic ones, or, proper, like you can get them piece ke from somewhere. So take those with you. If you are taking them with you, make sure you pack them in like 3, 4 separate bags so your entire suitcase does not smell of masala at the end of the day. That's the other thing. Also, I know people who have brought canned food here successfully. So usually people who come here for electives, but if you do have space and if you do have, if weight is not an issue, then you can like get food canned, either ghar ka khana, yeah, whatever food you like, you can bring it here. It'll probably last you good like 2 to 4 weeks at least. So that's something you can think about if you want. Like Maha mentioned, I would not. I completely agree. I would not mention. I would not recommend studying much before. I know it's very very overwhelming. Thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be a resident. Like I don't know anything. मुझे कुछ नहीं आता. I felt that. I felt the same way when I matched. But one baseline, you do know things. Okay, you went through 5 years of med school. You did your step 1, step 2, all of it. You do know things, even if you've forgotten some. You'll just you'll learn as you go through intern year. But EKGs, I do, looking back, that there's this EKG book that I'm actually reading right now, which somebody recommended. It's brilliant. It's like the best resource you'll ever find for EKGs, truly. So I would recommend reading that book if you can before coming. Maybe read like a few pages a day or even a few pages a week. I'll share the name of the book. Let me just give me 1 second, and I'll add that to the chat right now. It's called The Only EKG Book You'll Ever Need, and that name is correct. So yeah, if you can, try to read this book before coming. If not, it's fine. You can read it through intern year. And as far as the visa is concerned, so the process is actually pretty straightforward. The big thing you need is your DS 2019, which your program will send to you. So ECFMG will send it to your program, and then your program will send it to you. And then a couple of other documents that you need. I mean, apart from your passport. I don't have experience with administrative processing, yeah, rejection of your visa. I know that I think it's Dr. Muhammad Sher from KE who helps people out with that. So if you're not on the Apna group, join that. I'm sure they'll share like a J1 visa group, like WhatsApp page, or people talk about their queries. And if anyone has trouble, they discuss it amongst themselves. So that's a good resource in case something like that happens. But don't worry, my visa appointment was very late. I think it was like the last week of May. And then I actually left if it gets approved, you get your passport back in a few days. So I left, I think it was the 7th or 8th of June that I left. So it's actually not that, it's not that bad, the process.
Thank you for the very elaborate response. Can you guys please talk about having the visa renewed if in case you have ever had to have it renewed and how to go
Yeah.
about it? Because
So that's actually really important because that process partly does depend on you and your program. And sadly, like I did have some trouble because my program, the person who handles it wasn't doing a good job handling it. Overall, like people here are wonderful, but that's one person who for some reason, has not been that accommodating. So the document again that you need is your new DS 2019. And what the new DS 2019 is dependent on is your new contract for the year. So when you want to go home during your PGY 1 year, you need the contract for your PGY 2 year, and then you need the DS 2019 based on that contract to renew your visa for the coming year. Contract ka ye ki, they need to approve stipends for the coming year for you to get your contract, because that's the big thing, like how much money does it say on the contract. So I would start to email them early, like maybe around like December. And I planned my vacations in a way that I would go in March every year. I just like the idea of going when the weather is nice and stuff. If you plan on going in December, then email them maybe a couple of months before that. Is it possible for me to get my contract so that I can get my new DS 2019? Once you have the contract and you've signed it, then the TPL, who is the training program liaison, that's the person in your program who sort of communicates with ECFMG and uploads your things on the website. They need to upload that signed contract. This one other document, which it's just your program director just needs to fill it out and sign it. It's like a one-page document. And the third thing is your I-94, which says when you entered the US and their last entry. Those are the three things. So basically, it's a very simple process. The contract is the only sort of time sensitive thing. Once those are uploaded, the ECFMG says it takes 4 to 6 weeks for them to send your DS 2019. Kabhi kabhar it comes earlier. Like mine this year came in like 2.5 weeks. Once you have that, that's basically all you need for your visa. So this, as long as you are aware of the process, you can tell the person in your program who's responsible, okay, these are my dates. And given that I'm leaving on, let's say, 15th December, I think we should apply for the DS 2019 by 1st November so that we have enough time for it to come. I need the contract hence like a week or two before, things like that. So you can set that timeline out. If you're having trouble, like my program director and my APD have been really wonderful with trying to help me out. This year, I was able to get it on time before I left. The first year that you go, you already have a valid visa to come back. So you don't actually need a visa to come back to the US, but then you won't have a valid visa to travel outside the US after that. So that's the process.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, so I'll start a bit about arrival in the US. So पहली बात तो Maham and I both agreed कि try to reach a good at least a week to 2 weeks before orientation. And I do mean before orientation. So some programs have orientation quite early. I know that the standard date is 1st July for starting residency. That's not true for every program. Mine started on the 21st of June, I think. Yeah, the 21st or 23rd of June. And my orientation was on the 10th of June. And I was a bit annoyed. I was like, yeah, मैं क्यों जल्दी जाऊँ? Like, I want to spend time with my family and stuff. And ended up going on the 8th of June, so 2 days before orientation. And looking back, that wasn't a great idea. There were also other circumstances. I was traveling. I was not in Pakistan before, so I, did my visa appointment a bit later and stuff. But looking back, arriving a week before at least is a good idea. The reason is that ek to you start to settle into your apartment and you get to iron out any problems. Let's say you have some trouble with your apartment complex or whatever, like the apartment is not what it seemed like online. You might even need to change apartments. You will need furniture to settle in. You need to figure out transport. You need to figure out food. Like, how are you gonna, what kind of food system will you have? So that takes time. Furniture be, it's not like you'll go in one day and find everything you need. And that's not a good idea. Like, you should get things that you really like. So it's good to go a couple of times and sort of, look at what you really want. So yeah, 7 to 10 to 2 weeks before at least. I know it's annoying because you feel like time वैसे kam hai, but it really does make a difference in helping you settle in. The other thing is that as somebody on a J1, you need to wait at least 10 days before you can apply for your social security number. So it's good to have that. So mera ye hua tha ki I had to sort of go on a day off that I had like while I was on an inpatient rotation. So that was my one day off in the week, and I had to go stand outside the social security, office and get my number. So it would have been better if I could have done that before I started. So that's the other thing. Also, when just to quickly go through the process of immigration itself, in case you haven't been here or in case you haven't been here on a J1, it was very smooth. Usually it's very smooth. They just look at your DS 2019, your visa, and you just go through. I have heard of some people who they do additional questioning for. Don't worry if that happens. Because that you are legally here, like you have a visa, so you are legally here. You don't need to worry about anything. So just be confident. I'll give you one small example that I was crossing through immigration last month because I was in Pakistan, and the guy asked, hey, do you have any food in your bag? And I was like, yeah, like I got some food on the airplane that's in my bag that I haven't eaten. He's like, what kind of meat is in it? And I was like, I don't even know because it's not labeled, but I don't eat pork. So if you can tell me that, what kind of meat is in it, that would be nice. And he started laughing, I guess. So my point is that the immigration officer you might feel a bit like overwhelmed. Oh my God, like all the stories you've heard, but they're quite nice. And you can just sort of have like, just answer their question and be casual and just don't worry about that entire process. Other things for when you get here. So like I already said, furniture ka one thing to keep in mind is that it takes time. It's not कि आपने order कर लिया तो हफ्ते में आ जाएगा. Sometimes it take weeks to months. So if you can actually go online right now in these few weeks and look for something you like, especially a bed that you like or like a couch that you like, then that would be great if you can already order it. If you feel like you need to sit on something and like really try it out, then go to IKEA. The first few days you're here, that's good because you can just buy it and you can sort of make it yourself. You don't need to wait for weeks for it to be delivered. So make sure you have that. Transport car, figure out if you will need some, like if I would say driving, but you won't have a car in the beginning. So if there's somebody you can carpool with, that would be great. Some hospitals have shuttles that transport people, so they have a schedule for that. Find out if your hospital has one. Mine did, so that was helpful. You can also consider maybe biking to your hospital if that's an option, or Uber. You might have to Uber in the beginning. And then if you are, so I'm in an area where I don't need a car to go to work. So I don't have a car. I chose an apartment from where I could walk to the hospital. So if that is a priority, make sure you read reviews online. Okay, is it doable, like walking from your apartment complex to the hospital, and how long does it take and stuff. I would really I'm a big proponent of that. Like it's really nice to be in walking distance because I come back, even again, if I have a break for an hour, I can come back home, have lunch here, then go back to clinic and things like that. But if you're in an area that doesn't allow that, that's okay. Driver's license ka ye hai ki it is a process, and it's kind of annoying to be honest, because it's like written test, and then you have skills test, like you're not used to driving, on the left hand side, and that's a whole thing. So I would say getting the written test out of the way make things very easy for you, like going forward. The driver's test, because people told me that DMV manual paro, it's like a 100-page manual, and I tried to read that, and I had like inpatient rotations, and I couldn't get through that, and hence it took me a long time to actually get my license for that reason. This website was great because actually in the end I ended up going through this website. They have like 25 practice tests, I think, for each state. So I did about 20 of those in one day, and then the next day I went and took the test, and I passed. So this is the best website for the test. So you can just take that. If possible, like try to actually go through these questions like very early on. You can even do it on the airplane if you have like internet, or if you want to do it like a day before you're coming. Like make it a priority to really take the test, because once you're done with that, the next step is the skills test. The skills test, you need a car. You can't go there, and there, at least where I am, like it wasn't like you can go there and you can borrow a car. So basically what that means is you need to borrow like a friend's car or something. And essentially they actually need to come with you because you're not licensed, so you're not allowed to drive a car alone. Um, I have seen people get around that. They go there and they're like, oh, like somebody dropped me off and now they're gone. But that's still taking a risk. I ended up going with a friend who also needed to get a license, but like her husband was here, he had a car, so like we practiced for a bit, the three of us, and then we went together. So that is something you have to figure out. You could tell your program about it, and maybe they will facilitate you sort of being able to drive. Um, and then I just realized that we're sort of halfway through, so I'm gonna move on quickly to the next thing, which is food. And that ties in with your health. Maybe we can move on to or maybe I don't know how far ahead the health section was, but maybe we can quickly move on to
Ma'am,
that one.
whatever suits, you can talk about it right now, and then we
Yeah,
can.
I'll dive into that because that's a big part of settling in. And then we can go to finances after that. Okay, I'll just start. So health ka ye ke the biggest thing that is so important for being okay during residency, taking care of your health. And one of the biggest things is food. Now, the problem with food is that we're very used to either living at home or we're in a hostel or whatever. Like you always have access to food. Ya to aapka koi cook hai, ya phir fridge mein kuch pada hua hai, ya you have like a cafe to go to. That's not going to be the case here. In the hospital, yes, you'll have access, but when you come home, you won't have like a fridge full of food or somebody to make food for you. So I would say try to, in the beginning, if you cook, that's great. If not, try to learn to cook before you come. It's going to be a really important skill. Try to learn a few dishes that you like, desi ho, jo bhi ho, and that you can freeze. Okay, so try that. Come here, get some groceries in the beginning, and then make some food that you freeze and that lasts you for at least 1 to 2 weeks, because coming home every day and cooking is completely impossible during residency. The other option is finding a desi auntie who makes food, if you prefer desi food. So there's usually a Pakistani community in any area you go to, and you can find out about who makes food and delivers it. And then if they deliver in batches, you can just again put it out in Tupperware and freeze it. Another option are meal prep services. So there are a few different ones. Some are just in Kyapne, some are desi. You can look into those. I'll share a couple that I know of by the end of the session. Um, that's the important thing. Just make sure it's not like you don't have a plan for food, because then you will end up literally at times not having dinner and going to sleep, or just having a granola bar and going to sleep. For breakfast, try to have things that you can take with you, because you won't always wake up and have time to have cereal or whatever. So protein bars are great. Costco has really nice ones, which are not that expensive. Or try to have like Greek yogurt or something like that, or make a smoothie that you can take with you. And then the other thing is sleep. Very, very, very important to get good sleep to be able to function the next day. If you're somebody who doesn't have issues with that, that's great. I did have trouble like sleeping. I'm not good at like, it takes me an hour or so to go to sleep, which, you don't have enough time for that. So I just take melatonin when I need to. I just started like taking 1 milligram of melatonin whenever I needed it. It's good to have that around. If it works for you, that'll be very helpful. So it's okay if you need that. It's available over the counter. And then exercise is actually very difficult to do during residency in the beginning. But if you already exercise, try not to leave that. Like, even if it's like you start off with 1 day a week, identify like a gym either in your apartment complex or nearby that you can go to, and that you can maybe run in a park or whatever. But that will also really help with feeling good. Maham, do you want to talk about like finding a PCP and stuff?
Yeah, so just one thing I would add, you covered mainly everything. So when you get here, most of the programs, they're just gonna give you, usually that's how my program was, they gave me a list of insurances that I could choose from. So when they give you that, just see what suits you best. It's gonna give you what copay it has, what the deductibles would be, and then what providers are covered. Most of them are good, like whichever your program's going to give you, whatever suits you best, all of them are good enough. But it does take a while for that process to start. Like, you're going to start residency first, and it's going to be 1 to 2 months till the whole process happens and you actually have insurance. So try to get a hold of that beforehand so that you can figure out what you want to do. And if you are someone who is on any kind of prescription medications, I would definitely say bring a stack of your medicines with you, because here it's not as easy to just go somewhere, go to a pharmacy and get some antibiotics or go get your prescription meds. It's a huge hassle to get a hold of medications that you yourself want. Like, you know how Pakistan mein you can just be like, oh, isne mujhe ye medicine lene ko boli, I'll just go buy it. That's not how it's gonna work at all here. So if you know, like, okay, you have frequent sinus infections that are debilitating for you, you can't go to work, bring a course of whatever antibiotics you use. Like, 3-4 courses leke aa jao. I always get Augmentin with me whenever I'm coming here. Like, whenever I go back to Pakistan, I bring a stash of Augmentin. I have migraines. I bring all of my migraine medications with me. जो भी आ रहा होता है, I ask them to bring a refill of my migraine meds, because I know कि अच्छा, in case of emergency, I have something, because I don't have to wait for a primary care appointment. But if primary care के पास जाओ, then they're going to refer you to a neurologist. फिर neurologist के पास जाने के 2-3 weeks बाद you'll get an appointment. Then they see, okay, do you even use medicine or not? And then it's not as simple. So that's one thing I would definitely add. The other thing was just same. We talked about vaccines earlier, which they're definitely going to need records of almost at every single hospital you're going to start working at. So those are just two main things I would look out for. Oh, and third thing that I actually want to recommend is, if you wear glasses, definitely bring 2-3 extra pairs with you, classes are unreasonably expensive here, like $150 $200 tak ke pad jate hain, like a good decent pair of glasses. So if you have insurance, it might be a little bit better. But then again, residency mein, if you're someone who wears glasses, you're going to be using glasses all the time, and then they're going to get worn out. You need to have backups. So whenever I go to Pakistan, I get like 2 pairs at least every time, even though I have extras at home. So that would also be one little thing to like keep in mind.
All right, thank you so much. I think we can now discuss finances. So, with regards to finances, could you guys give a general idea of what percentage of your finances do you allot towards the non-negotiable, that is rent and grocery and food? And then, if you can, then what percentage do you save, and what are the does it apply across the board, or are there differences based on where you reside? And then additionally, how does the taxation system work in the US, and are there any specific omissions or clauses that we have to keep in mind as non-US citizens and as South Asians?
Yeah, so a lot
Sorry.
of times with finances, you're gonna have to see what your bi-weekly is. So here you get your pay every 2 weeks. It's not like every month, so your monthly pay is gonna be divided into 2 weeks. Some things to watch out for. What I do is I make a list. Okay, अच्छा, my apartment rent is this much. If I have a car, मेरी car की इतनी payment होगी every month. Then you're gonna be paying for your insurance every month, and water, electricity bills. Those are minor ones, but just to keep, as you know, keep your monthly expenses fixed constant, just make a list of those things and just write that amount down somewhere. कि अच्छा, ठीक है, this much I need to take out regardless. For whatever you have left is usually good enough to cover your gas, cover your grocery. But of course, you're gonna have to try and test out depending on how much you're taking out for your other utilities. जो fixed amount है, कि जो बच जाएगा उसमें you have to try to figure out, थोड़ा सा experiment करना होता है in the beginning to see what actually you need in groceries, how much is like your every 2 weeks जो कितना बच रहा है, that you can get groceries, have a decent lifestyle. And sometimes you're also going to be like eating out on some days, just जिन days जो है you don't have enough like energy to make something, or you don't have anything and you want to eat something, so you know some extra expenses. So शुरू में, like me and Fatma were literally discussing yesterday that शुरू में all of us try to save, but I don't think it's a good idea. Especially first 5 to 6 months, see what suits you, see what is a comfortable lifestyle, because intern year you're gonna be making loads of changes physically and emotionally. So I would say, okay, focus using whatever money you have left for yourself right now, as long as you've taken aside like एक side पे कर दिया whatever your fixed expenses are. If you want, you can even add your gas expenses to your fixed expenses. So, you know, is there say at least you don't have to worry about saving in the beginning. I know it's exciting that you're going to start earning so much all of it, which is like you've been working so hard for it. But feel okay with not saving. Don't feel super guilty about it. Of course, if you have space to save, there's nothing wrong with it. It's good to have a small amount in the back to just like, you know, for like cases that you might need money for, but usually it should be okay. And then Fatma, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'll just add that when you're coming here, of course, you'll need money to settle in, which you won't earn. Please, I know it's hard. I know we already have drained so much money from our parents over the course of, applying and all of that. But please, don't try to be stringent about this. कि यार नहीं कम पैसे लेके जाने हैं. Because you do need money to settle in. You need money again to buy furniture, to pay that first rent, to get food, for transport, everything. For me, I think probably at least $3,000 to $4,000 is important, because again, rent pay karne ke liye, and then uske upar like buying furniture and all that stuff. And if anything goes wrong, you need money with you. Of course, like over time, as you settle in, you can start earning that money back. If you want, you can send it back to your parents. But shuru mein, don't try to bring less money with you. And I agree that wo jo bi-weekly wala hai, once you know, because it's very different for everyone. Because every program, every state is different, and the rents are different. So some might get more money per month, but then might have to pay more in rent because they're in a state like that. So I will say that in my case, I try ke एक मेरा paycheck goes towards rent and electricity and stuff, like उससे ज़्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए. And then the next paycheck, I sort of take that for groceries and for transport and things like that. I don't have a car, Maham does. So like she said, like that should also factor into your monthly expenses. If I did have a car, then I would, then it would go over that, just that single, one paycheck going towards those fixed expenses. And then one thing I just want to mention is that for furniture, you can find really good used furniture around you because it's time pay, so many people are moving for fellowship and stuff, so they're selling furniture quickly. So look for Facebook groups, try to search for community jo bhi hai. So the name of your program. So for example, in my case, I would search for WashU housing or, WashU buy and sell or something like that. So if you search for your program or your neighborhood, so like Central West End is my neighborhood. So I would search for that plus, buy and sell housing, etc. You can find really good deals and moving sales around you for furniture.
All right, thank you so much. I think we can now talk about, although you've mentioned a lot, but about studying and then step 3 during residency. How do you plan to give it and how to go about it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, go
So
ahead,
Mohammed,
Fatma.
now
Yeah.
I was going to say I haven't taken step 3 yet, so you can talk about step 3. I can maybe chime in about studying.
So, step 3, I don't know if many of you have taken it already or not. But if you haven't yet, I wouldn't say that power through right now and take it because like it's super close to residency now. If you're in the middle of studying for step 3, then I would say yes, just go ahead and get done with it. If you're already prepping for it, because you do need like a good amount, 4 to 6 weeks of good amount of studying for step 3 as well, because I think step 3 like residency also really helped me with step 3. So if you're gonna do like 4 to 6 weeks, then that's good, but I feel like you already have so much on your plate at this time that you can definitely to giving it during the beginning of second year. 6 to 7 months of intern year, you are good settled in, like you're at a comfortable spot by that time. And sometimes it takes more than that too, but that's completely okay. So after that, once you know, okay, what my schedule is like, what my routine is like, then you can make the mindset of, okay, when can I study? And then that's when you can start studying. It's okay to take 4 or 5 months during residency to study inpatient, your cycle gets broken, so you end up
Okay.
doing your work rather than if you have straight 4 to 6 weeks, you can easily do it. So during residency, I would say just go with the flow, see what suits you, and then try to study like in whatever time you have. If you're an outpatient, try to focus that okay, this is the time I want to finish studying for step 3, and then you can always take it. Just make sure you know what your program's deadline is, because some programs prefer that you take it before the end of first year, and some programs are okay with you taking it before second year. So mine was okay with second year, that's why I ended up taking it in second year. But again, like I said, if you're already in the middle of studying, just get done with it. So that would depend kind of on your program. Second thing I would say is don't be too hard on yourself that I'm not studying, I should be studying, because like you won't even realize when you're working during intern year, you are basically studying. Every single patient you see is you studying. Trust me, like you know so much by the end of 6 months that you're gonna look back and be like, okay, I don't know how I know this in within 6 months. So every time you see a patient, make it a habit when you're admitting a patient, just open a resource up to date mix app. Your program's gonna have like educational funds. Make sure you buy at least both of those. Up to date is already given. But mix app is something that is gonna help you learn about your patient and also prepare for the boards. So every single topic in Mixup, every single question is very focused on how you're going to pass your boards as well. So basically, I would say best way to study during intern year is read up on your patient, whichever case you see. If you're an outpatient, again, study for your step 3 and use that time to study, like free time to study. But even if you're not using that free time to study, just like go out, have fun, like look, explore around. Like, in the beginning, focus more on adjusting on the place. Because you don't want to make intern year more stressful than it already is. Then also take a lot from your hospital's morning reports, noon conferences. Make sure you go to all of those because those are going to be your dedicated study times. Those are designed in a way that you don't get an option but to sit and attend it, and those actually go a long way when there's a group discussion going on. So if you feel like, okay, I don't have time for studying, I feel bad, just make sure you use all of your hospital resources to keep that kind of like studying going, because there's every day there's going to be something you're learning. Even till end of second year, there's going to be things you're going to be finding out about, like throughout residency. So just don't be too hard on yourself is what I would say, and try to start studying for step 3 once you feel okay, I'm settled into intern year now, and I have enough time. Now I know where I can fit in doing questions. And once you start, of course, like you started for step 1, step 2, you do like 20 questions a day, go up to 30 questions a day. Some days you're super like you don't have like enough to do, you're very free for the day. So then you're like, okay, may pass itna time, I'm just gonna push it to 50, 60 questions, and you'll be good to go. And then the CCS part of step 3 is like basically intern year, you're going to be putting in orders, you're going to be seeing so many cases that CCS is going to come naturally to you at that point. So CCS becomes very easy after intern year.
So that, yeah, so I'll just add a bit. I completely agree that studying in the beginning is very hard. And I know that you come in, you're like, I need to impress people and and please don't try to have that mindset. In fact, residency is actually a great time to change your mindset from one where you're just part of the rat race to one where you truly start to become your own person and try to set your own goals, going forward. I think that getting in some sense, all of us in some way had to take part in the rat race. Step 1, step 2, research, LORs, electives, all. Because of that, you don't stop to really think, what do I want now going forward, instead of what the next big achievement is. So now I'm in a training program, right? That means you're learning. So don't be too hard on yourself ki mujhe ye nahi aata. Oh my God, why don't I know this or that? Firstly, understand that you already have a lot more learning to do than your AMG peers, because you probably have not used Epic before. Even if you have, you're not used to it. You're not used to exclusively talking in English or taking histories in English. You're not used to simple things like even like calling consults and stuff, or discharge planning, or, SNF. SNF is like I don't even know what a SNF was when I first came. SNF is a skilled nursing facility, and then discharge summaries, likhna, things like that, which even note writing every day. We're not used to any of that. So please be kind to yourself and set your own goals and don't try to look at Furlan. He's a good friend, but he was now an intern, so he already had like 2 years of experience within this hospital, within this community, and I would compare myself to him, thinking, oh my God, why am I not as good as him, even though I was coming from a completely different setup. So I would say try to ask people around you about how to set up your Epic or your whatever EMR you're using to be efficient, because आप आराम से pre-chart कर सकते हो, it won't take a lot of time. Ask them for smart phrases, at least Epic, and that's what we call them, for your notes and stuff. That might be an awkward experience in the beginning, because we're not used to saying, hi, my name is Fatima, I'm calling from the internal medicine team, and you're calling like cardiology. So what you have to do is tell them, I'm calling for a new consult, and if they're free, you'll be like, okay, so this is a 59-year-old male with a history of AFib, blah, blah, blah. So that takes time to get comfortable with speaking sort of, fluently and like aram se, and then knowing how to, engage with someone. And again, it's okay, just look at your peers, look at how they're doing it, and it's okay. You'll take like, aapko kuch tries lagenge before you can do that comfortably. Even calling patients. So if you have like if a primary care clinic, and if you have your own patients, like yahan pe we have our own patients. So I am the patient's primary care doctor. So I have to call the patient about aapki results mein ye aaya, whatever. Again, we're not used to that, right? So it takes time. practice. In the beginning, I would feel awkward, like I can't do this in front of my colleagues because like I'm just not used to it, you know. So it's okay to do that, to like, you know, go to a different room and be like, or like be at home and then call your patient, so that you have some practice with that before you have to do it, you know, regularly. And now at this point, I feel very comfortable calling a patient. You're calling their family to either inform them of a test result or to, you know, update them or ask them something. Discharge planning, again, like I said, is something new. Discharge summaries were such a big struggle for me, because what happened was I came onto an inpatient service, and I had all these patients that I had inherited who had been in the hospital for weeks. And now that they were getting discharged, I had to write their discharge summaries, not knowing, not having followed this patient for the past few weeks. It was quite a struggle. I would say because as an intern, you will have to write their discharge summary. So when you start a service, just go in there's a discharge tab, and there's a tab where you can, unka hospital course hota hai uske andar. And go to that tab and see if it's updated. If it is, that's great. If it's not, then start to update it slowly, even if they're not getting discharged soon. If you have time at the end of the day, maybe like 5-10 minutes, put in like, acha, this is what they came in with, ICU mein, this is what happened. They were on pressors for a bit, and now, you know, they were weaned off of it, blah, blah, blah. Because that will help a lot. By the time that they are getting discharged, you'll have something in there to help with their summary. And it'll also help you with understanding the patient better. Like mom said, there's a lot of passive learning. So at the end of 6-8 months, you'll be like, "Acha, I know that." So try to just keep an open mind. Be open to passive learning. Don't keep that mindset that maine perform karna hai and I have to just show up tomorrow knowing every little thing about this one condition that my patient has. Try to get out of that mindset. It's a very, very desi mindset that we have, कि perform karna hai, dikhana hai. When I came here, I realized that people were so relaxed. Like my attending came in the first day, brought some, something for us like coffee and things like that. We split round. So what that means is that one intern is presenting their patients, the other can sit there and do their work and aram se keep pre-charting or whatever. So it's very relaxed. It's not like attending ayat, you have to like stand up and like everyone has to be, paying attention to everything they're saying. So try to sort of make way for that mindset, and again, set your own goals. Think about the fact that now you are going to be, at least in 3 years, you'll be an independent physician. So what kind of doctor do you want to be for your patients? Try to read in detail about their conditions, because so that you can offer good care, as opposed to so you can impress the attending. That mindset will help. Try not to always think about how, oh my God, I'm an IMG, I'm from Pakistan, ye wo, like people don't, that's not the first thing on their head when they talk to you most times. You're another resident, right? So aapke liye, you don't have to sort of always be thinking about that. I think the biggest thing that helps is having a positive mindset. Having a mindset of just humility and gratitude helps a lot. It really does, because at one point you realize that आपके इर्द-गिर्द experiences तो हो रहे हैं, but the way you're interpreting them, the way you're perceiving them is really what's making a difference to how you are experiencing them. So what I mean by that is that if you are in the hospital and if you have a patient who's not, well, and hence you have to stay late. If you have a mindset of, oh my God, I have to go home, kya bakwas hai, like I have to stay here, you will just be so frustrated and annoyed by that situation. Conversely, if your mindset is that of gratitude and humility, where you're like, I get to take care of this patient. I get to, I am a physician here. I get to, use my mind to help this patient. And it's just this, if you can empathize with the patient and what they're going through, that same experience will not be frustrating and annoying. It'll be one where you learn something and you will just feel grateful and you will feel better when you go home. So that helps. And it's completely okay to not be the best. Please don't try to have that in your head, I have to be the best resident here, whatever. You have to be the best doctor, and that takes time, right? That takes time, and that's why, again, you're in a training program for 3 years, okay? The first year is just about getting a hand of how things work, and don't try to put that pressure on yourself. So that's what I would say.
Thank you for the elaboration on mindset and how to approach things as an individual in the workplace. However, could you just elaborate a bit on the cultural differences that IMGs might face as new incoming interns, and then some unsaid rules that we have to keep in mind, which may not be obvious straight up front, but something that you maybe have learned and should keep that anybody should keep in mind as an IMG in the workplace when you're interacting with your colleagues.
Yeah. So I think a couple of things that are different here again. So one, you have to exclusively speak in English, right? And we're not used to that. And that's okay. I have colleagues who speak, who are bilingual and Spanish speaking, sometimes Spanish speech magic. That's completely fine. It's not something you need to be super conscious about. And you over time, there'll come a point where you will just naturally start speaking only English. One thing that's important is that यहाँ पे people a lot of times aren't too direct with how they talk to you. And that's something that I realized that would be very confusing for me in the beginning. So for example, in my intern year, my senior would say to me, let's say we got a new patient on our team. My senior would say, do you want to take this patient? And what they mean to say is, you're taking this patient. But I would think, do I want to take this patient? That's not what they mean. They really mean, they're just trying to say it in a nice way. Okay, so that's simple cultural differences that hum बहुत direct. I think language कहते हैं कि, oh, can you do this? Or can you, do that? So I think that's something to keep in mind that यहाँ पे people थोड़ा softly कहेंगे, but try to understand what they're trying to say, what they really want to say. People, I'm sure you've heard this before, but people will always be nice to you, and maybe you'll hear them. And here it's okay. It's just like I try not to take it to your head too much. Like people are talking about other people. I think other things to keep in mind are just generally people, at least in my program, alhamdulillah, people are very nice, right? And they'll treat you well, and just try to be kind as well and be polite, but don't overthink too much. As long as, I think, intentions are very important. So as long as your intentions are sincere and you're trying to be nice and kind, you don't need to overthink, yeah, how am I coming across? Yeah, did they understand what I really meant by that? Yeah, little things like that. Try to keep sincere intentions, and it's okay, because आपका manner of speaking, आपका manner of expressing yourself is unique to you. So you don't need to blend in and mold yourself in a way that has to be completely sort of according to what they are. It's okay, because you are an expression of a different culture and a different mindset and different background, and that's perfectly fine. You should be sort of comfortable being yourself. At the same time, like I said, these nuances, you'll understand them over time, and it's good to keep those in mind once you start to see कि ये थोड़े से differences हैं.
All right, thank you so much. I would want the participants to send in their questions because we're short on time. But at the same time, could you just briefly talk about the emotional aspects of things, because residency itself is a humongous change, and then you're so overloaded with work. So how do you go about processing the emotions, and then of course, uh, at least trying to maintain a work-life balance, having a social life outside of your workplace as well?
So I would say, like, of course, moving here before getting here and coming here is gonna be like a roller coaster of emotions. It's gonna be like a lot of excitement. It's also gonna be a lot of like sadness going away from your family. But one way, like, I'm a very emotional person. It was very difficult for me to leave family and come here, but um also let the excitement take over that too, because like if you're just gonna focus that okay, I'm leaving everyone, just try to think that okay, I this is like a new milestone in my life. My family is proud of me, and this is gonna be a new chapter, and it's gonna be fun. Like, just try to go in with a very positive mindset. It really helps. And then a lot of people who are gonna start residency with you will be doing the same thing. A lot of them are coming from their families, leaving their families and coming here. At least my program has a lot of IMGs. So there were many people I could relate to. So hanging out with those people, going out, meeting them. For example, if it's Eid, I didn't really have anyone else with me here on my first Eid that celebrates Eid, like from my work. So I invited people over to celebrate Eid, told them what it is, so you can feel like people get to know where you are from, what you come from. That really helped too, rather than just like ignoring where you come from. That makes things kind of worse. So try to tell people, be acceptable about who you are, and let people learn about you, because that's how you're going to make really close friends. And then participate in other people's stuff too, like whatever their cultural or religious stuff is. If they invite you, go to those, be open, be super approachable, because the people around you are really going to help you get through the difficult phase of this. If you make good friends, you can who can relate to you, talking to them really helps. Second thing would be like whenever you have time, because it's really difficult to keep in touch with your family during intern year. Your schedules are completely messed up. You don't know when you're sleeping, when you're eating, when your day off is. It's gonna be like a totally random day when nobody in Pakistan is free at that time. So try to like see whenever you have a small few minutes, like you're driving to work or coming back from work. If you have time, just give your parents a call, your siblings a call. It really makes a difference. It feels like, okay, they're still there, like involved a little bit in your life, because there are some days where you go like maybe 6 7 days without talking to anyone from home, and then it starts getting to you, like you don't even know what's wrong, but then you realize that, oh, I haven't spoken to anybody from home. So try to make out maybe like some small amount of time if you can. It kind of helps too, because it is definitely going to be an emotional time, but of course try to focus more on the positive than the sad aspect of it, that you've worked so hard for this for years, how happy your family is about this achievement of yours, and just be more excited towards making new friends and finding more people who are going through the same thing, which makes you feel like you're not alone in this.
Yeah, I will echo that it does sort of come in waves. When you're going, so you'll feel sad leaving. When you get here, you'll be excited, new place, you know, make some new friends. You will start earning your own money. But and then for a moment you might think, oh, I'm fine, like I'm over it. And then it'll come in waves again. Like 2 months later, you'll be like, I feel alone, like I want my family and things like that. So know that it'll come in waves and you'll process it over time. It is a big change, and honestly, we don't go into it processing it that much because, you know, we're so geared towards कि यार obviously US जाना है, you know, first, second, third year of med school में आपने decide कर लिया होता है step देना ये करना है, and we're so geared towards that we don't actually sit down and think, is this really what I want? Like, what does this mean for my life? So once you come here, there was a time when I was like, why am I even here? Like, I hate this. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, it's just so hard. I hate going to work every day. There was probably 6 7 months into intern year and I hadn't been home, and when I went home for the first time, it almost gave me this kind of closure. Like, if I went home, you're like, oh, your family is still there. Everything is the same. Like, you know, and you sort of, you know, you would meet your friends again, and it feels really nice. And then I came back and I just felt very settled, and I felt like the homesickness had kind of sort of faded away. So that's one thing. Just know that it's a process, and you'll go through your own process, and don't try to suppress whatever you're going through. Like, just, you know, let it come, and sort of, you know, just try to take it one step at a time. The other thing is that it's really, it helps a lot to have a community. So aapki, again, community can be either people within your hospital or outside of work, and outside of work actually is great to have friends who are outside of work. Mere program mein bhi, out of 150 residents in all 3 years, there are 3 Pakistanis. So there weren't a lot of IMGs in the program, and I did feel a bit isolated in the beginning. Yeah, I really wanted Pakistani friends, and I prayed for that, and I feel like, you know, literally made dua kabul thi, because now I have so many good friends, you know, desi friends, and I feel so grateful for that. And you know, most of them are outside of work, and it just happens कि यार कोई one of them is doing a postdoc, one of them was a junior in school, and she reached out to me, I'm also in St. Louis, and that's how we became friends. And uski dost who's doing a master's here, things like that. Like, you'll find people aista aista, but it takes time to really find your people. You don't have to try to come under peer pressure कि जो बुला रहे हैं उसके, you know, चले जाओ, like, because residency, you have limited time to engage with people socially. So try to really engage with people who you like and who help to make you feel better and more relaxed, as opposed to sort of going to things that you don't enjoy at all. I think that's important. So I will say
Understood.
one last thing. Sorry, just one last thing that I want to say. Like Maham said, it is quite exciting coming here. And I think one way that you can sort of look at it, that really it's true, and it really helps with sort of this transition. It's actually a really big privilege to be able to travel and to now be living in a different part of the world. And through that process, you're going to learn a lot. So you were previously, you know, in Pakistan, and you were living in this Eastern culture. Now you're in this Western culture. And no culture is superior than the other. They're just different, right? So try to really take in that experience कि यार it's not कि the US is this incredible place. उसके pros भी बहुत हैं, cons भी हैं, and Pakistan के similarly pros and cons हैं. So try to dissect कि यार what do I resonate with this one culture? Yeah, with in Pakistan, what resonates with me and my values. In the US, what resonates with me and my values. And you'll see that this experience is actually quite wonderful, like the experience of traveling and learning more, and similarly the experience of also living on your own, earning your own money, and then traveling around on your own. That is also a very, very character building experience, and it's something to be very grateful for if we get that opportunity.
All right, thank you so much. But there's just two questions if we could take them right now. So the first one is, do you get your eyesight checked every 6 months? Like, is this a compulsion? And doesn't having the same prescription glasses present a barrier then?
So I haven't honestly checked my eyesight here ever since I got here because I got a chance to go back to Pakistan twice. So both times whenever I visited Pakistan, I got my eyesight checked. But your insurance is gonna cover some. Once you have your healthcare insurance, it should cover some amount of your vision as well. So there's just going to be usually a small amount that you may have to pay extra. But if you feel like you need a checkup, it's not like it's going to be impossible. You can definitely reach out to your whoever your insurance covers and get your vision checked. It's not going to be that difficult. Like it won't be that big of a barrier. Like it's doable.
Thank you. The last question is, that if you get a car right away and you have an international license made from Pakistan, does that affect your insurance costs in any way? Or does the insurance apply differently to a local license and an international one?
So when you rent a car on your international license, it's basically the same way as you go for vacation and you're just renting a car. If you rent a car, just make sure you have your credit card from Pakistan. You're gonna need that. And then second thing is that the insurance is just gonna be, they usually just add a small amount on top of your daily rent. So it's not like a separate insurance that you have to create because that insurance you won't have till you're like settled in, you have all of your documentation done and till you have your actual driver's license from the US. So right now, if you're gonna rent a car, if you want to for practicing or anything, that would be a good thing. If you feel like you're gonna be going to a place where you're definitely gonna need a car, because some states here are like super huge, and then you have to be like you need to have a car. And if you don't know how to drive, this is the time to learn how to drive if you're gonna need one. um Adjusting towards the left hand drive honestly won't even be that big of an issue if you're driving in Pakistan, because I used to drive there, but and here maybe it took me a few days, but then you get used to it because everyone here is very like following the rules a lot, and it's not difficult nahi hota jitna Pakistan mein hota hai. It's actually easier. You get used to it in a few days, but apart from that, regardless, if you want to come rent a car and practice, it shouldn't be an issue on your international driver license. Like itna zyada insurance ka issue nahi hota.
Thank you so much, both of you, for an incredible session. I'm sure it was very informative. It certainly was for me, particularly as a medical student. Just a few closing remarks. We have a residency group made for wherein we intend to conduct mock interviews in future. So people who already match, and if you could kindly scan the QR code and join the group, and maybe help students who are applying get mock interviews, have their mock interviews, and so that they can prepare better for the interviews when they do come. And secondly, we would also have an additional ambassadors program wherein we try to connect with people from different medical schools. So if you could maybe share it with medical students that you know, and that will help us build a better, more connected community and increase our reach for our events as well as participate in research events as well. So that's it. I think it was an incredible event. If everybody could just turn their cameras on for a moment so that we can take a snapshot and post it on our socials. And I think after that, the event is concluded. And thank you so much, Dr. Maham and Dr. Fatma, for taking the time out. It was an incredible event, and we would love to do events with you in the future as well.
Of course. And I just want to add, if anyone needs to reach out for any questions, like when they get here, feel free to text me or email me anything. I'll share my number with Danyal. I'm more than happy to help. Like any random questions you have, if you're stuck anywhere, if I can help, I'm open to helping out. So just feel free to text me or anything.
Yeah, thank you for having us. I noticed this one question that I think went unanswered regarding credit cards. In the beginning, you will probably have to get like a Discover credit card because you don't have a credit score. The only advice I would give you with regards to that is that we actually are lucky that we don't handle a lot of credit in Pakistan, and we go with debit, which means that you only spend the amount of money you already have in your bank account. That's a good habit to keep going forward, because once you start getting into the credit world, you realize, yeah, I can spend so much more money than I have. Well, that's a very, very slippery slope to go down. I know people who, were like, I can spend this money, I'll pay it back, but they're not able to. And then once you start missing payments, the interest rate is crazy. So it's like 20-25% that you have to pay on top of what you already pay. So I really encourage you to only try to look at the amount that you already have in your bank account and think about that as the amount that you can spend. In fact, you should, some should always stay there. A particular amount of money should always stay there. So you can spend your money. Wait for your paycheck before you decide to, make the next big purchase. And then once you have a credit score, after maybe about a year or so, you can start to get credit cards. Like I recently got not recently, a few months ago, got the Sapphire Preferred, the Chase Sapphire Preferred, which is a very good credit card to have if you are planning on using points for traveling and stuff. But those options usually come in a bit later when you have a credit score.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Fatma. Thank you so much, Dr. Maham. I think that concludes our session, and I wish everyone the best of luck. And goodbye from our side. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.